Sony Xperia Pro I review. Premium smartphone with the giant image sensor of a compact camera. While it's unquestionably a technical achievement, almost everything that stands the Pro I apart from the Xperia One III makes it unsuitable as a conventional smartphone recommendation. Only enthusiasts need apply. Sony debuted the first Xperia Pro in early 2020. A device that we dubbed one of the only phones truly worthy of the Pro suffix, with its skillset tailored towards industry-grade broadcasting over consumer use. Now the company has brought another Pro to market, the Xperia Pro I, which takes a wholly different approach, aimed at a wholly different demographic. Similarly to the previous Pro, the Pro I builds on the company's current flagship, the Xperia One III, with near-identical underlying hardware and a similar software experience, but it's augmented by a bold new camera system that pushes past practically everything else currently out there, with the hopes of being perceived as a serious tool for creators and enthusiasts. It's no secret that the Xperia One III serves as the foundation for the Pro I's build, but the tweaks and changes Sony has made all serve to render the Pro I both a more functional and resilient device. Even the fact that it can only be had in one color, black, naturally speaks to the more utilitarian approach Sony has taken with the Pro I's hardware. While you get the same Gorilla Glass Victus protected display and frosted Gorilla Glass 6 back, they're surrounded by a prominent new, waved edge, blast-treated, metal frame. Not only is it aesthetically bold, but it also offers excellent grip, thanks to rows of deep ridges. The frame plays host to a familiar set of hardware controls, lifted from the One III, including a dual-detent knurled shutter button and a fingerprint sensor-laden power key, but there's now an additional circular shortcut key and even an eyelet for a lanyard, which you might want to use, considering just how much the Pro I costs. In stark contrast to the textured shutter button protruding from the bottom right of the phone's frame, that new shortcut key sits flush against it, making it harder to feel out than you'd expect. Something of a problem when you consider that its default function is to help you get to shooting video quickly. It can be reprogrammed, though. Despite being a glass sandwich, like most premium handsets, the Pro I's robust metal frame helps the phone feel incredibly well put together and more durable than competitors, even without a case, while it also retains IP65/68 dust and water resistance, alongside Sony's signature toolless SIM tray. Of all the elements that the Pro I needed to crib from the Mark III, its display was at the top of the wish list and, thankfully, Sony delivered. As well as a distinct 21:9 cinema-wide aspect ratio, which Sony turns to more than any other phone maker. The Pro I is the only other phone to share in the One II's impressive concoction of display technologies, with a 6.5 inches 120Hz 4K HDR-capable OLED panel on offer that boasts professional-grade color calibration, white balancing and 10-bit color support. When a phone boasts stereo speakers, it's a toss-up as to whether the manufacturer has implemented superior front-firing output with a balanced sound, or an earpiece down-firing combination, where the former handles treble while the other places a bias on bass tones. Thankfully, in the case of the Pro I, it's the latter, with decent clarity and clear stereo separation. Although the hardware and layout at play are likely identical to that used by the Xperia One III, in side-by-side comparisons, the Pro I doesn't offer quite the same level of clarity and tone as expected, presumably as a result of the physical differences found in the phone's bigger body. With the exception of the new Video Pro app, coming up in the camera section, and that new programmable shortcut key, there's little to differentiate the Pro I's user experience from the one found on the One III, but that's no bad thing. Sony has taken a metered approach to modifying Android, with a clean experience that should be familiar or at least intuitive to users of other mainstream devices from the likes of Google, Motorola, Nokia and so on. The aforementioned split-screen functionality is particularly well implemented, while Sony-specific features like SideSense, a system-wide shortcut menu accessed by double-tapping against the edge of the UI, and Game Enhancer, which lets you manage notifications, tweak visuals and record gameplay, are nice extras that feel considered and genuinely useful. Despite launching towards the tail end of the Snapdragon 888 Plus S-time in the limelight, as Qualcomm's top-tier mobile chipset, before it was replaced by the 8 Gen 1 in late December 2021. The Xperia Pro I sticks with the same standard 888 that also powers the Xperia 1 III. This comes paired to 12GB of RAM and 512GB of internal storage, which can, rather impressively, be expanded via microSD by an additional 1TB. As such, while there's more room for media, ideal when shooting in high-fidelity codecs, performance is on par with the Mark III, which itself was exceptional at launch, but may not stand the test of time compared to flagships running on the newer 888 Plus, or 8 General one. For a flagship phone with some demanding hardware, namely its display and camera, the 4500 mAh battery in the Pro I feels a little on the small side, both on paper and in practice. As the benchmarks show, it only outlasted the 1 III by a little, and a number of its top-tier competitors have moved to more capacious cells to keep step with the higher demands modern flagships are subjected to, resulting in noticeably better longevity, by comparison. As to why wireless charging isn't part of the equation on the Pro I, all you need do is glance around back. The whole reason this phone exists is embodied in the bold new camera hardware, with a sizable primary lens positioned down the center line of the phone's rear. The Pro I is part of a very select group, not just because of its impressive display but due to the fact that its revised camera system leads with a huge 1-inch Sony Xperia Pro I CMOS sensor. In fact, it's the same sensor that's found on the company's beloved RX107 compact camera, a technical achievement to feature on a phone, to be sure. On the Pro I, it comes paired with a dual aperture setup, reminiscent of the system seen on Samsung's Galaxy S9 series, that can flip between f2.0 and f4.0, while the sensor itself sports impressively large 2.8 micrometers pixels that are ideal for gathering in more light than the average smartphone sensor, most of which resort to combining the data from multiple pixels at the expense of resolution to achieve the same effect. While most phones rely on plastic, this optically stabilized sensor also employs glass lens elements, promising greater image clarity and reduced reflectivity, supported by a Zeiss-T branded optical coating. There's a flip side to this bold new system, however. The slim profile of the phone, compared to a compact camera, at least, means there isn't enough space for the Pro I to properly leverage the full might of that 20MP sensor, resulting in a 12MP effective resolution, cropping to an equivalent 1/1.3 inches sensor size. In terms of color, contrast and dynamic range, even in auto mode, Sony's top Xperias usually make you work for great results out of the gate, and that's especially true of the Pro I's imaging experience. It's built around not 2, as on the Xperia 1 III, but 3 imaging apps: Photo Pro, Cinema Pro and the new Video Pro app. Sony unveiled the Xperia Pro I in late October 2021, going on pre-order in various markets, including the US, a couple of days later, the 28th of October. The phone was then made available to buy starting the 10th of December 2021. The company's original Xperia Pro, with its integrated HDMI connectivity and professional target audience, sported a decidedly steep price tag, when viewed through the lens of the consumer smartphone market, at £2,299 for $2,499 US$99. Thankfully, the more creative intentions that led to the Pro I's creation mean it's comparatively more affordable,